So I should, oh, I want to turn off the recording. And that way I'll be able to send the recording, and any of those that missed it can come back and watch it and all. So I'm going to be sharing my screen, and let me go ahead and do that. And I will tell you, I had to come over to my son's house, who lives not very far, because we're having our internet connection redone this morning, and also it made it so I don't have dogs, but you may hear a couple of dog barks in the background and all. So what you're seeing on my screen right now is that I've gone into my Nearpod account, and this is my library. Now, I have been using Nearpod since it was born almost. I've used it in all grade levels, all subject areas, and all. So I have a lot of lessons. Yours is probably pretty blank right now. And then as you accumulate more lessons, or if you like to really be organized from the beginning, you can create folders and put lessons within those folders. And that way you're not having to scroll through to find the lesson that you would want to use. Now, and since you're high school and all, that is, you may want to organize it by period 1, period 2, period 3, something like that. Also, the beauty of Nearpod is that you can do this, and what we're going to do is a live lesson, but you also can do it student-paced. And that means you're sending the same lessons to your students with a code, and they can do it on their own time. And we were talking a little bit earlier that you're about 50-50 and students in person and students that are virtual. Plus, with high school, you may not always know what their schedule is. They may be helping their siblings, they may have a part-time job or something. So student-paced has made Nearpod very, very powerful in this learning environment we're in. So we're going to do an introduction to Nearpod. You'll learn a lot. And this is the lesson right here. And as you see, as I kind of zoom up over it, I have a choice: live participation or student-paced. And then we're going to do live participation. Now, remember, you're going to be my students. So I want you to put in the student code. And so when I clicked on the lesson, this code came up. It is always 5 characters. It's not case sensitive. You can email this code to your students. You can link it. You can put it in Google Classroom. There's all sorts of ways of sharing it. Or you can do it just like I am, saying, here's the code, DAUCJ. Now, for me, the teacher, one of the nice things is when I even take this off the screen, it is always on my teacher screen right up in the top left-hand corner. So if a student comes in late, I can quickly give them the code and they catch up to wherever we are in the lesson. So you're just at nearpod.com, and you can, it may have a little box at the top that says student code. You may have a banner that says join for you to put in this code, okay? Now, as we go through this, don't hesitate to unmute and ask me a question. I really, that's fine. I think the questions, I love having questions actually. And sometimes a lot of other people are wishing they could ask the same thing. So after I have put this up, I just close it. And as I said, I've got it up in my top left-hand corner. Now I can see down on the bottom of my screen that only right now, only a couple of you have gotten in. So just remember, you're going to nearpod.com, you're putting in the code DAUCJ, and then it asks you for your name and you submit, and then you're waiting on me. Since we're doing a live lesson, my students cannot get ahead of me. I like being in charge. And so I will be driving the lesson. I will be moving the presentation as we go. So if somebody's having an issue getting on, just speak up and let me see if I can't talk you through that, because I'd really like to have more students and all. And so it's very nice for the teacher, especially when you are in this virtual environment, to know how many students have actually logged on and such. So we're getting some more on. And as I said, I can give this code out at any point. Somebody could put it in the chat if they would like. That's another way to share that code if, when you're working with your students, is just go down and put it in the chat. And then people coming in can see it there. So
I have a quick question. I apologize. Yeah. I put in the code and then I accidentally closed my browser. So what's the code again?
Okay. See that, but that's a good question. DAUCJ. Doesn't spell anything. DAUCJ. And that's interesting because my little icon that tells me how many people are in is red, which tells me someone has gotten out and might have come back. When it's green, that means everybody is in. So, okay. So stay with us and we're going to start. This is who I am. I retired several years ago from Louisville School District. I was in the instructional technology department, but I still do a lot of consulting, and I am a level 3 certified trainer for Nearpod. And Nearpod, man, everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. This is a Google form. So I have put this Google form inside of a Nearpod presentation. So I am asking you just for your email and your name. And the reason I do that is that at the end, I am going to send you more Nearpod resources and such. And so I'll be able just to go into my Google Docs and find the form and pick up those email addresses to send this additional information. So it's very easy to put things like Google Forms and such inside of Nearpod, okay? Now, this is a great tool, and it is really a good tool since you teach high school. Students can take notes throughout the presentation, and up in the top right-hand corner, there is an icon that looks like a paper and pencil, and you just click on that. And then you decide, how do I want my notes sent to me? You put in your email address, you can save to Google Drive or to OneDrive. Now, only the students are going to get their notes. You, the teacher, will not see their notes. The other nice thing is not only do they get their notes, they get the whole presentation. So they could go back over the presentation afterwards. The teacher does not see this icon on their screen. So like when I'm teaching, I have to remind myself when I'm working with students to tell the students to go up to the top right-hand corner, click on that so that they can take notes and get the presentation. Now, throughout this, you'll see some slides and it'll have an arrow like that. That just means there's some more slides down there. And they're usually just reinforcement slides, and we won't open all of those because I want you to have time to actually see how you edit, how you find lessons in the Nearpod library. Now, this is a poll. I love doing polls in a lesson. One, I get 100% participation. So I'm asking you, which of the following best describes your familiarity with Nearpod? And so you can respond, and I see in real time all of your responses. It's also building a pie chart for me to give me an idea of where we are. And like I was told, this was an introduction beginning session on Nearpod. And my pie chart shows me that. But we have a few that I use Nearpod, and that's great, but already. So you can be a help to the others on your campus. Okay, so polls are very easy to insert anytime into a lesson. That's just one of the activities. Now, this is what I was seeing. I was seeing your responses. Of course, this is a fake class. Here was my pie chart. You notice there's a share button. I could have shared out this pie chart and to show the results of the poll and all. So it's very easy to use, very easy for your students. And so many times people, well, what is Nearpod? I'm not quite sure even what it does. It's a presentation tool, but what makes it so powerful for you in the classroom is that it's very interactive. It's not a PowerPoint slide show where you're just showing slides or a Google slideshow. So it's interactive. Also, you don't have to start from scratch. There are over 8,500 lessons already made that you can bring into your library, edit, and you're ready to go. And you could have a lesson ready to use tomorrow. Now, this is a video. And anytime I put a video into Nearpod, I get this pop-up window. And it says, where would you like for the video to be played? And I have two choices. All devices. That means it would be shown on the student's devices, or this device only. And of course, a lot of times when I'm working face-to-face with students, I'll say this device only, unless they all have earbuds. Otherwise, can be a lot of noise. Sometimes you may want to say all devices. You just have to recognize the point that when you say all devices, the students may not start that video all at the same time. So I'm going to say this device only. Was that our question? Okay. If not, we'll come back to it. So here's my video.
Introducing Nearpod. With Nearpod, you can make every lesson interactive. Launch lessons your students can't wait to join with collaborative, engaging activities like virtual reality, simulations, and gamified quizzes. As the teacher, you'll always know where your students are with Nearpod's formative assessments, including polls, open-ended questions, draw-its, and more. Get started with what you already have. Upload any of your favorite resources, PowerPoints, Google Slides, and videos, including directly from YouTube. Then, add in media and formative assessment in a few clicks. And now you can add questions directly into videos to make them interactive. Get started even faster with our library of pre-made lessons and videos, built in partnership with some of your favorite brands. You can use them as is or customize to meet the unique needs of your students. Once you're ready to launch your lesson, choose from 3 teaching modes. In live participation mode, you control the pace and students participate on their devices, either in person or remotely with web conferencing. In student-paced mode, students move through and participate on their own, whether they're working from home or in class working in centers, stations, or groups. With front-of-class mode, you can use Nearpod without student devices and facilitate collaborative discussions. Imagine what you can do with Nearpod. Your students will love lessons that combine engaging media with collaborative ways for them to show off how much they've learned. You'll love unlocking student understanding in real time and having reports to inform the next day's instruction. You'll wonder how you taught without it. Learn more and get started for free at nearpod.com.
So that was just a little overview. Now this is a lesson that I created in PowerPoint a number of years ago. When it was in PowerPoint, it was not interactive and all, but it was on, predator and prey. So I brought it into Nearpod, and you can bring in a Google slideshow, a PowerPoint slideshow, like anytime. And so when I move through this is an activity. And so on your screen, you have some drawing tools down at the bottom left-hand side that, and I'm asking you to draw a picture of what you think a predator would look like. So I'm doing a pre-assessment. And I don't spend any time explaining the drawing tools. The kids figure that out. And I don't want to show them the eraser because they'll start over. This is an activity that you are doing a draw it, that you can add a time or two, because most of the time they want to spend more time than you've actually allowed. What's happening on my screen is that I am seeing your drawings in real time. It used to be I had to wait till you hit submit to be able to understand and see what you have drawn. And I always, one of the reasons I do like the draw it, well, I like it for lots of reasons. First of all, it's creative, and I'm going to show you some other ways to use a draw it activity. But a lot of times we have those students that really do not want to contribute. They don't ever say anything, that are really good artists. And so after all, everybody has submitted, I could share out their drawing and we could talk about it. Now, go ahead and start finishing up. Now, in reports, and we'll talk about reports in a little bit, anything that can be graded will be graded. So in a drawing activity, you will see each of the students drawing and all. So as I said, and I have to, if if I say hit submit, because we're going on and they do not, because they just want to keep drawing, they will, those drawings will not show up. So you want to make sure everybody submits. And while you were drawing, your name was in yellow. When you submit, that bar turns green. So that's how I know that you have submitted. And some of you are quite talented. Some of you, I'm having to think about what you're actually drawing, but that's okay. That's a great point for discussion and all. And I usually get some crazy drawings and all. So, okay, go ahead. A couple of you haven't submitted. You just keep adding more stuff to your drawings and all. But this is, as I said, I was just doing a pre-assessment. Especially when you start out, this is a good activity to have at the beginning of your presentation, because it kind of breaks the ice about using Nearpod. It gets all your students involved and such. And so, like this one, I'm going to share out. I think I know what it is, but can you unmute and explain your drawing?
Okay, so I was thinking more like time and never-ending cycles.
Okay. Ah, all right. That's high order. I was thinking maybe that was a coronavirus. Now, as I said, you can share all of them. You can have great points of discussion and all. But this is what I was seeing. I was seeing your names, and then I was seeing your drawings. And as I was trying to see, do you have an idea of what a predator is like? And then I just have this is just a slide. It's telling me, I have some images. We talk about this. Here's a definition. Now, this is another draw it activity. So in this was a slide that I couldn't do anything with, but I converted it to a draw it. So I'm asking you to circle the predator in each sentence. So you're picking up your drawing tools and doing this. So a formative assessment. This could be circle the nouns in green, underline the verbs in red. It could be a math problem. It could be, almost anything a map that you want them to fill in certain territories or such as that. So draw it is very versatile. And again, you get that participation that's so important and all. So I could have had a lot more on this slide and not. Now go ahead and submit, but I'm going on. And this is what I was seeing. I was seeing each of your submissions. I was seeing very quickly, I look at this and I say, yeah, they understand what a predator is. I'm moving on. One of the content areas that you can add is 3D images. And so this is one of them. It's a shark, and everybody likes to get it up close and see the teeth and all that. Now, there's a lot of other ones other than just a shark. There's the circulatory system in 3D. There's the auditory system, and I'll show you all of those as well. Now, you can have quizzes. This one only has 2 questions, so it should be very easy for you to complete. And you could have a quiz that, 25 questions. The nice thing is it is going to be graded for you and all. So I tell especially high school teachers, say you were doing this presentation to more than one class. I would launch it new for each class so that each class had a different code, because then in your reports, your students would group by the class period that they were in. Again, I'm seeing in real time your responses. It's building a pie chart for me. If it's mostly green, I know, okay, this is the gifted and talented class and all. But if it's red, I know I need to reteach. So you're doing very well and all. So I'm just going to move on. That's a quiz. And this is what I was seeing. And here was my pie chart. So I see in real time the results. This is a Collaborate board. And what a tool for you in high school. And again, I get a pop-up window and it says, do you want to approve the responses before they're posted? You have high school kids. Maybe you want to say yes because, how they are. But you're adults, so I'm going to say no. Now, a Collaborate board is like a Post-it. You're going to put Post-it notes up here. And I'm asking you to search for a picture of a prey, add it to the Collaborate board, and describe your animal. Down here at the bottom, you type in about your animal. A rabbit is a prey because, and then I'm just typing in Swedish, but right next to this is a little blue box, kind of looks, has a landscape in it. I click on that, it goes out to Google Images, and I can put in that I want to find a picture of a rabbit. I click on the magnifying glass, and I get all these cute pictures of a rabbit. So I'm going to save that one. Now I put information in the text box. I have an image, and then I just click post. And these start coming up on the Collaborate board. So your students have quite a lot of, they can get quite a lot of answers and all. And should someone put up something that's inappropriate and you didn't catch it or something, there's a trash can right there on each one of them. And so all I would have to do is to click on that trash can, and it would take that posting away. Again, a great way to get your students' opinion. It's very, everything's done within Nearpod. They're not having to get outside of Nearpod. You can share these as well. Now, you may forget this, but I'm going to tell you about it. Down on the bottom right-hand side of my screen, I have something that says hide student names. When I click on that, what it does is that it blanks out all the students' names. So, that may be important to you that you do that, so that all your students, there's nobody that is self-conscious about what they put up there or such. And then I can just go back and I click on it again. It says show teachers' names. So it's down on the bottom right-hand side of my screen in a tab. So this is what I was seeing. I was seeing your post with this, and you can see here's a card that's been deleted and all. So you have a lot of control. Then we go on to pray, and what is a pray? Now, this is an open-ended question. And so there's no right or wrong answer. And you just start typing in there, can an animal be both a predator and a prey, and explain your answer. So it will be in your reports, and you can quickly glance in your reports about how each student responded. Now, I'm seeing these in real time, so I'm going to know right as we're in the lesson what your responses are. Also, I get a participation rate, and I can see 30% have participated. They have put their response up there. I know some of you are thinking about writing a dissertation. I really don't want that. And let me explain about reports. Reports are available to you immediately when you finish a lesson. And there's 2 or 3 ways to get to them. And we'll look at reports that really anytime you can have something graded for you is a real tool. Again, if somebody really nails this answer, I can share it out to the class, and we can talk about, that particular response, why it's such a good response, and so forth. So you're starting to see how this is interactive with your students in real time. And this is what I was seeing. You see, I have a share button, and Mary Poppins really did a great job. And I could just click on that share button, and it would be, all the students could see it, okay? You may not be familiar with Microsoft Sway. I tell people I think of it as a PowerPoint on steroids. And I'm just gliding down this. Now, I did not create this Microsoft Sway. it was already done for me. It was where I could add it to my lesson. And I felt like it really fit in. And look at all this information. I have to remember, give my students time to look at this and all. And when I get to something that looks like this, that's a stack of cards. And I just click on the top one, and I can go through and read this information on each of these that are endangered. So this is Microsoft Sway. It's an Office 365 product. As I said, I've never made one. I've certainly put them in in Nearpods, but I just use the ones that are already available to me. They're all very well done. It would take me a long time to make one. Now, this is matching the word with the definition, and you can go ahead and be doing this. You create your own matching and all. It could be a vocabulary word to a definition. It could be a math problem and the answer. It could be a word and it matches to an image. So teachers really like this as an activity. You build your own, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It doesn't take any time at all. Now, what I'm seeing in real time, again, is how many tries it's taking you. So if somebody is just clicking around, hoping they'll find something, I would see that. You also, I have a button that says View Pairs. As a class, we could look at the pairs and talk about why they matched up. So this can be a great tool for you to use. It's just another way of getting a formative assessment, feedback, and all. So I'm going to go on. And as I said, this is what I was seeing. I was seeing how each of you were doing. You can see here, Oprah really was just clicking around and hoping she found something. Now, this is a virtual VR, virtual reality. And so you can see, and I'm just using my pad on my laptop and all, but I can move it around and all. And a lot of times, especially when I do this with older students, I might have a question prior to this slide that says, be prepared to describe, give me a good description of a coral reef and all. So you can use this in a lot of different ways. And this is a partnership with 360 Cities. So, there's, Stonehenge, Shakespeare Theater in London, the pyramids. I don't think I've ever looked for something like to use that I haven't found it to add to my Nearpod and all. So it's 360, and all the ones that are in the 360 cities, they've been vetted by the 360 cities. So and not that I'm a doubting Thomas, but I did go out and my backyard and make a 360 video, and I sent it to 360 Cities, and in a couple of weeks I got this very nice email telling me that it just wasn't good enough. Okay, so let me pause. Are there questions? It's real hard for me to keep up with the chat. If somebody wants to kind of manage that for me and interrupt with questions and such, because I don't want to just ramble on when there's a burning question.
And Paul asked the question, is this in Nearpod, the 360 Cities? Is there a link in there, or do you have to go to 360 Cities?
No, don't. It's right there within Nearpod. It's adding content, and all of this, that's what I'm going to show you in the second part. So yes, for you, all the tools are right there. You don't have to go outside. Okay? And all.
Another
So,
question. Another question was asked about the voice to, or the words to voice, script to voice on there. You can type anything and they will be able to read that out to a student. Is that correct?
right. There's a couple of things. You can add your audio, your voice to almost any slide. Also, on some of the slides, you may have seen an icon. Let me see if I can find one. Here's one right up at the top right-hand corner. It looks like it's a partnership with Immersive Reader. And so students can click on that and the question and answers would have been read to them. Also, you can add your voice audio to existing slides, and you can, on the open-ended question, and I'll show you this as well, that students can respond orally. And I know sometimes that's some students can certainly respond that way better than if they're having to try to type everything in. So it's very nice. It's a strong feature. And these partnerships that Nearpod have made have really improved the product. So along the way, and as I said, you'll get this if you open up notes anyhow and all. But anytime you're in Nearpod and you see their icon, if you click on it, that's going to take you back to your library. This new that's where you create a new Nearpod, a new slide. Quick launch is you might be in a lesson and oh my gosh, this question just came up that you would really like for your students to respond to. It could be open-ended, it could be a collaborate board, and you just click on this little rocket that's up at the top here on the screen and you add it to that lesson. Profile, we're going to look at your profiles. This is important because there's some settings that you decide, do you want to have them toggled on or toggled off and all. And it can be, do I want Immersive Reader turned on? Do I want student notes turned on? And all. So we'll look at all of those. And all. So I'm just, in August, the first part of August, Nearpod added over 1,000 interactive videos. And as I said, the library has 8,500 plus lessons in it. And the videos that they have created, they have already embedded questions. But you could bring in a YouTube video and create your own questions. Or if you found a video that had some questions in it, but you wanted to add a couple of your own, you can do that. Now, and we'll look at how do you filter through all these lessons. They have all the state standards. You can search by topic. You can search by grade level. It's really easy to narrow down what you're looking for. As I said, when you get this, there's videos throughout the lesson that you can watch. I don't take time to watch all of them because I want you to have time to get into the Nearpod library. You saw that early one, they have all these other partnerships and all that are just a great tool. If you're a math or science teacher, the PhET simulations from the University of Colorado at Boulder are really good. They're categorized by high school, middle school, and elementary. And you know now that you can either launch a lesson live or you can launch a lesson student paced. it's the same. Oh, wait a minute. Those of you that missed my commentary earlier, I came over to my son's house because they're redoing something with our internet box and all. And so their robot decided to start cleaning, but hopefully I've turned it off. Probably upset. So anyhow, so you can do student paced or live paced. That code that you got, you don't see that code till you actually launch the lesson and all. And it's going to be unique to each time. So like this is live participation. This is student paced. And so you would get a code. The student paced codes last for, by default, for 29 days, which is more than you need to. You might, give them a student-paced lesson on Monday morning and say to them, you have till Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. to complete this lesson and all. And there's a toggle button here that you see that's turned on. It says require student submissions. Well, if I have a quiz and I have a Collaborate board and different things, yes, I want my students to do those activities before they go on. And you can go in and monitor how they're progressing on the lesson and all, or waiting to see if they wait till the very end and all. So again, you've seen as we've gone through this that sometimes the student view is going to be different than the teacher view. As I said, the Nearpod reports are, you can see how the class is done as a whole. You can see individual student reports. You can see your different questions and percentage of them getting them right and all. Reports, I will have a report on this class the minute I close out this lesson and all. So see, and when you come back to this, there's about 3 different ways to get to reports. It's very easy. But that is why, as a high school teacher, you want to launch the lesson each time for each class period. And this is just another Collaborate board and all. So let's just quickly look at a couple more things. This is a fill in the blank. And in fill in the blank, you create your fill in the blanks. It's a drag and drop activity, and it will be graded for you. And so you, again, this is something I'm going to show you how to do and give you tip number 1 on doing a fill in the blank. Another way, though, to do an assessment, and it will be graded. Now, Time to Climb is a gamified quiz. And I know you have high school students. I mean, it sounds like they're really on a track with their classes. They may look at Time to Climb as being a little young for them. But, you may want to look at it sometime. You can take any quiz and turn it into a gamified version. And you can turn the music off or on and such. And so like when I click on continue and the student pick their mean, and what I will see is how many students connect. Now there's some very good Time to Climb quizzes in there, like they, there, and there. That's for you language arts teachers, that's not always something that they grasp. And it is timed for each question and such and all. So I'm just going to show you the ones that are playing, the ones that are watching, just an idea. So you see that there's a timer. And so if everybody finishes in 10 seconds, it moves on. What I'm seeing is on my leaderboard is who is in first place. And Paul is. But I want to tell you folks, he could be knocked off. So even though, you know, sometimes you just need to sit back and let them have a little relaxation. And as I said, this could be a really difficult quiz, just put in a different version. Okay, so I moved on. Sorry, Paul, you probably would have won anyhow and all. This is just another Collaborate board. Now, this is kind of gives you an idea of how you can add content or activities to any lesson. And we're going to look at these. So in content, you can add a website so that it's right there within the lesson. Here's the PhET simulations, math and science teacher. Here's Desmo calculator. Here's the virtual field trips. This is BBC video. Here's the Microsoft Sway. You can bring in a PDF document. Say you're teaching the Raven, in which is, you don't want it chopped up on 3 or 4 slides. You save it as a PDF. You bring it in through PDF Viewer, and the students see it all on one screen. So this is adding content. You can add other videos. Activities are what we've done a lot of. There's time to climb, open-ended question, matching pairs, and all. So these are all the different types of question or activities that you can add to any presentation. Memory test you will not be using. That's for the kindergartners. A dog to a dog, a cat to a cat. And here you see I have an audio recorder. So this just, again, seeing this in, this is content. So there's 2 things we do. We add content or we add activities. Probably the only one I haven't used though is Twitter. I just can't quite figure that one out. Facebook group, Nearpod Educators is very active. It is a great, teachers love to share, teachers ask questions and such. Now, Nearpod likes to get feedback. And so I'm just going to give you a minute or so to fill in this form. It's in Monkey Survey, and I don't see it. It goes to Nearpod. But they listen and they look at these, and this helps them improve their product. It helps them make their trainings better and all. And so, you know, we try to, when we have a session like this, to get feedback from the participants. And while you're filling that out, at the top of my screen in the middle, I have a little downward arrow. And when I click on that, I can end the session, or I can, that's another way to get to reports. So I'm just going to give you about 30 more seconds and we'll then all. And what we're going to do when I end this session, then I want you to log in to your Nearpod account. And as I said earlier, that login comes from your end. In other words, somebody has set up those Nearpod accounts. I'm not sure who that person is. So if you don't have a login, I don't know, Martin Conrady is my contact. I don't know if he's the one that set them up or what. But, so I'm going to end the session. And are you sure you want to? Yes. So now I've done my lesson. We did it face to face. That same lesson could have been given to the students, student-paced. I am back onto my into my library and all. But your new best friend, you didn't know you're going to have a new best friend after today, is the Nearpod library. You just click on it. It's over on the left-hand side of your screen. This takes you to where all those 8,500 lessons are and over 1,000 videos. Now, these are these are featured ones. There's some by publishers and all. So there's a lot of ones that they just kind of feature on this page. But let's go over. We're in the state of Texas. I click on that downward arrow. I'm over here, select a standard or state. So I am going, and I'm going to go all the way down to Texas. And I'm going to say I am a ELA teacher in high school. And now I'm going to look at the strands. So I've said what grade I teach, what topic I teach, and all. And now I'm looking for Texas. And so apply skills in reporting and writing to produce. Okay, we'll look at that. Oh, well, that turned out to be a time to climb. All right. Let's try another one. Let's see what we get. And so you're going to get, sometimes you'll get 2 or 3 out here. Other times maybe just 1. But I could go up here and I could say I'm a science teacher in high school in Texas. And let's look at our science strands. I'll just pick the top one. This is on the solstice and equinox. And it says grades 6 through 12. This has been created within Nearpod. Sometimes there'll be a teacher name, sometimes there'll be a partner or such. So you can search by state standard, or you come up here to the Nearpod library. Anytime I want to get rid of my filters, I just click on that X. I can come back here and I could just say science. Oh, I'll say social studies. Oh, maybe I teach both. Okay, high school. Now I've said I teach social studies in high school. And so I have a lot of more lessons to choose from. And you're going to see when it says like Paul Thieber, Jody Lunn, those are teachers and they have submitted their lessons and they're vetted as well. They cannot just throw a lesson up there. Now, I happen to know that Jody Lunn does really great lessons, and I'm studying World War I. So let's see what Jody has already done. I must preview the lesson, which is kind of a no-brainer, and all. And so it comes up, I get a chance to go through this lesson. I see up here at the top, it's 28 slides. And I go through this and I find out, man, this is a great lesson. I can use this tomorrow. So I've gone through it. I just click on add to my library. Now, what's happening is, I'm going to click back here on this Nearpod icon. That went from, it's still in the Nearpod library, but it has come in to my library. Here it is. A lot of times they'll be the very first one. This one just popped down here. So here's the lesson. Now that I have it in my library, I click on edit. Now, it'll always ask you, do you just want to edit the lesson or do you want to duplicate it? And sometimes it's a good idea to duplicate the lesson. And the reason being is sometimes I get in and I start editing and I think, oh my goodness, that lesson was so much better before I did this. And I can just go back and duplicate it. Now I could go back to the library and find it. but I'm just going to say edit lesson. So here's the lesson, here's all the slides, and I start looking at it, and this one had 28 slides in it, okay. Well, up here at the top, you know, my kids really don't care about Jody Lund, and they're probably not really interested in what my objectives are. So I'm just clicking on these 2 slides, and I am going to hit delete slide. So I can take out any of the slides that I don't want to use. So I might go through this and see if there's anything else that I want to, you know, maybe we're not going to do a reflection. I could just click on that one slide and delete it. Okay, so that's one. So I'm making this fit my class. Now, here's where the fun begins. I can add a slide. I could click here. I could click here. I add a slide. And you're going to see I'm going to be doing the same steps over and over. It's very intuitive and all. So I have a choice between content and activities. And we're going to look at content first. And so if I click on video, I could go into the video library. Now, I'm not real sure if there is one on World War I, but I'm going to find out. Oh my goodness, look at this. Here are these videos within the library already done. And I could look at these and see. I already know that this one is 3 minutes and 52 seconds. This one is 10 minutes and 35 seconds. And this crash course, they do a lot of lessons. And see, I have quite a few that I can choose from, different topics on World War I. So I would say, oh, this might be perfect. So I see this video, and where these blue dots are, that's an open-ended question. And I have several, this is multiple choice, and another open-ended question. If I wanted to add a question right here, I could just click on it. And then I would just say save. So I could add a video that has embedded questions in it. And when you're adding new content, everything goes to the bottom. And a lot of times when I just let them drop there, and then I would drag and drop it up here to wherever I wanted it to be. So you see it's very easy to move this. And I can tell, you know, here's another video. This one happens to be a YouTube one that was already in here. Add a slide. I could just add a slide with like a Google slide would look or something. But here's web. Yes. Question?
Can they jump to any point in the video they want?
I'm sorry, what? Say that again.
Do they have to watch the full video, or can they jump to anywhere in the video they want?
Well, you know, of course you want. I guess, I mean, it's just like any other video. You have that bar at the bottom and you could drag it, you know, over halfway or something. I just assumed everybody would want to watch it from the beginning, especially if you have questions in there and all. But, you know, as in videos, you know, so I know I might get interrupted and I've seen part of it. Say I'm doing a self-paced and I don't need to see the beginning again, but so I could drag it over. So that's kind of a two-part answer, I guess. You can put in a website so that students are not going outside of Nearpod to get to it. And as you know, most of the time, now this doesn't have anything to do with World War I, but it's short. But a lot of times your URLs are very long. I always test my link. I do not want any surprises. I see that it went exactly where I wanted it to go. And so let me move that out of the way. So once I know it went to the right spot, I would hit save. And so now I'm taking them to a website on World War I. Again, it landed down here at the bottom, and I'm just going to move it where I would like it. Add a slide. There is a vocabulary and Nearpod joined together, but the vocabulary videos are kind of a separate piece, so we're not taking time for those. Here's the 3D. As I told you, here's an animal cell. Here's the auditory system. Here's the cardiovascular system. And I can preview any of these and see if this would be beneficial for my students to be able to do this. Kind of looks like Halloween. Okay, so I could add that. Add a slide. Here are the PhET simulations. And so I say I'm math high school. And so here's some algebra simulations that I have that students can use. You can put into the lesson. You preview it just like anything else, and you say done. So this is math and science content. Add a slide. This is the VR field trip. So I might come up here and I'm going to put in Shakespeare's Theatre in London. And I hit the magnifying glass. And here it shows Shakespeare's Theatre. And I preview it. And now, on some of these, you're going to get tourists in them because a lot of times this is where the photographs come from. That really doesn't bother me. I'm more interested in my students saying, oh, those hard benches that they sat on, it was outdoors, the weather could be bad and cold. You know, those are the things. And a lot of times I'll have a question prompt before it, or I might ask questions afterwards so that they're just, you know, we're really looking at that field trip. Here's the graphing calculator. These are BBC, British Broadcasting. They're very well done. They're in categories. And also you could see up here that history is a category, and I could look, here's a video. If I previewed in like that, I would just say done. So you're seeing all this is available to you without going outside of your Nearpod program. So here is Sway that we looked at, and here's again historical events. There's Civil Rights Movement, Roosevelt, French Revolution, and all. And oops, here's a Sway on World War I. I don't have to create this. I just see, oh man, I like that. I want to add the Sway. So you see, we deleted some slides, but now we're adding a lot of back into it. A slideshow is bringing in a Google slideshow or a PowerPoint, and all those slides are just one after another in one slide. Audio, you can bring in audio files, like if you wanted to bring in the Martin Luther King speech, you have to know where they are to upload an audio file. This is the PDF viewer. You're bringing in a PDF document. These are activities. And we're going to look at these. I'm not going to spend time right now on time to fly. But this is an open-ended question. What do you think was the main cause of World War? Explain your answer. Now over here, and never be afraid to click on something. You are not going to break Nearpod. You've got several things you can do. it says add media, video, or audio instructions. I click on that box. I could bring in an image. And you say, well, it's pretty small. Well, when they're in the lesson, they can click on it and it'll fill up the screen. I could bring in another video. I could bring in a video right with this question. I could bring in a document. Here's that audio file. I could link to a web URL. Now, audio recorder. I click on that and I have this microphone up here. Students, I would like for you to give me your response to this question and explain it fully. What do you think was the main cause of World War I? So you're recording your voice. If you don't like that recording, you can trash it and re-record. So you've added now your voice to this question. And the students would see this little microphone and they would know that they could click on it. Here's where I was talking about students being able to record their answer back to you. Enable student audio recordings. So when they got to this, they would be able to respond orally. And you'll get a file on that, and you'll be able to listen to each one of them. So that was an open-ended question, very powerful. Add a slide, add activities. Here's matching pairs, and you saw that. And so you give your instructions, match the definition to the vocabulary word, solve the math problem. So I come down here and I say, I'm going to add a pair. And we happen to be studying presidents of the United States. Abraham Lincoln. So that was text. I could have typed in a lot more text than I did. I want to add an image. Takes me to Google Images. I type in Abraham Lincoln. If I just typed in Lincoln, I would also get Lincoln cars, and I don't need those. So I'm just going to take this picture of Abraham, and I'm going to save it. And so there's Abraham right here as my matching pair. Now, I could enter text. I could say, this is a math problem. It's a little bit simpler than what your students probably do, but and so I have the answer and I have the problem. You notice there is a pi sign here. And so I have an equation editor that has quite a few of my symbols that I need to use. So I could add a vocabulary word, and then I would add it, and or I could add an let's just say condensation. And maybe I have a lot of different pictures of types of weather. And so I come over here and I'm going to try condensation. And so I could add, oh, that would be a big giveaway. I could just save that one. So you can have images and words, a word and, well, that wasn't, that certainly would not be hard to match. So you create your own, it's very easy, and you just keep adding pairs, and then you save it. Okay, add a slide, add activities, and now here's quiz. Quiz is just about like, you're just creating a quiz like you do in any of the programs. You type your question here. Again, you could add a video, you could add an image, whatever. You have your answers. So it's multiple choice, or you can make it true or false. If you forget to choose the right answer, Nearpod will not let you save it till you choose the right answer. So I just go on and here's my World War I. I give it a title. I can add a timer for this quiz. I don't want them going out and Googling the images, so I put a timer on it. I mean, Googling the answer, excuse me. And so activities. Here's the draw it that we did. I'm going to show you how you convert a slide, but here all I have to do is give my instructions of what I want them to draw. I could have an image here, a background image. If I was a math teacher, I might have a parabola and I ask them to find the line of intersection. I could have something here. So your draw it can be very versatile. Add a slide. Add activity. So you see, I'm doing the same thing over and over. This is a collaborate board. I have my topic. I'm just going to put weather. And here's my board. What do you know about hurricanes? Fortunately, we don't live, right on the coast, so we don't get those. Now, I like these first three backgrounds because of the contrast. To me, that's a little harder to read, but that's just up to you. So I save it. And I could have, my question could be a lot more detailed. Add activities. Here's the poll. About this time, I think, okay, you've got it. You probably think, well, I can figure this out. What is your favorite ice cream? Okay, so I put vanilla. I put chocolate. I could have a rocky road. Now, I do have a toggle over here. If I'm doing a poll and there's a lot of choices where students could choose more than one. Again, here's the audio. I could add my audio to this as well. Add a slide.
Questions?
Yes.
First of all, I noticed that allow students to put multiple answers in. That only applies to the poll. So I take it with the quiz, there's not a select all that apply. You just have to have one right answer.
Back to the quiz. If you wanted them to have, be able to choose more than one answer, there may be that option. I don't remember seeing it. It's just on the poll that I know that that's there. We'll go back and look at that. Well, let me just do that real quick. Add activities. Let's see here. Collapse on. No, because remember, this is being graded for you, and so you have to choose one right answer. Okay, so let me.
The other question that I have is if I add a slide and I've got a set of PowerPoint slides already, what happens when you dump those in? Do you have something you can show where you can put in a bunch of slides and show how that gets positioned?
Yes, when I get back to my library, I'll show you how I could copy slides from, I could either bring in the slides and put them wherever I would like, or I could copy it from another lesson. Okay, let me just save this. See, I didn't pick a right answer, so it wouldn't let me save it. It's very good about that. Okay, add a slide. Add activities. Now I want to show you on the fill in the blank. Here's where you type your text. 3 large cities in Texas are Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio. Now, the reason I show you this is it's a kind of a tip. I could type a lot more. Once I had all my text in there, I would say next, and then I click on the words that I want to become, to go over to the word bank. These are my drag and drops. But here's why I show you this. I put in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. If your student put in Houston, Dallas, that would be counted wrong because it's not in the same order that I did. So when I do something like this, I make sure it's very sequential, greatest to smallest, or dates or something like that. Otherwise, it will get counted wrong because it's graded for you. Okay, activities. As I said, we did content, we did activities. You will not do memory tests because that's for the very young students. So remember, this started out as 28 slides. We've added a bunch. Now there's 40 slides. At this point, I would be moving these to wherever I would like them in my presentation. Then I just hit save and exit. And now my lesson is ready to go. Okay, here's this. If you will go, if you're in your Nearpod library, I want you to come over here to the far right-hand side. You may have just a little grayed out circle. This is where your profile is. I'm going to click on my profile. I'm sliding down to lesson settings. And these you can turn on or off at any time. It's up to you. Enable student names to autofill. If they're using a Google login or something, their names, if this is turned on, would autofill. Immersive reader, I would turn that on. You may have students that having the ability to have something read aloud to them is part of their IEP, or it just helps them. I definitely would turn on student notes with your high school students. Now, this is, again, this is your choice. When they are in student paced, do you want your students to be able to see a graded version of their quiz in student paced lessons and multiple choice questions? Again, that's up to you. If you're in live participation mode, notice I have this turned off. Do I want them to be able to resubmit answers? And that's just strictly up to you. Please turn on Enable Collaborate Board for student-paced lessons. If you do not turn this on, then when students are in a student-paced lesson and you have a Collaborate Board, it will come up and it will say waiting on teacher input, and they are not able to participate. So turn that on. I definitely would turn on require student submissions. Again, if I have built in these activities and I'm giving this as a student-paced lessons, I want them to do the quiz. I want them to do the Collaborate Board before they move on. So as I said, you can change these at any point. So I went to my profile, I clicked on it, I slid down to lesson settings, and that's when this popped up. Now I'm going to go back to Nearpod library. To my Nearpod library. Up here is that quick launch that we talked about, where you're just doing something on the fly. And if you do it in period 2, it will only show up in that period 2 lesson. It won't show up when you do the same lesson again in period 3. Okay. So I have these. I have this create button. It's another way I can create lessons, videos, bring Google Slides. I can, now let me come down here to, let me just go back to this one on World War I. I'm going to go back to edit. When you're in edit mode, there's a couple of things you can do that you can't do other places. But let's come down here and I'm just going to take this slide. Notice add slide is the only thing that's showing up because I haven't picked a slide. When I pick a slide, notice I have convert to draw it. So I click on convert to draw it. Do I want to keep a copy of the original slide? No. And so now it went from just a plain slide to a convert to draw it. And so I double clicked on it. And now I put my instructions up here. And I say, circle the nouns in red and the verbs in blue. And so you can see how I took a slide that was just information and I turned it into a draw it slide. This could have been a slide of a map like this. This is just a map when you look at it. But if I convert to draw it, I could have them circle a certain countries or whatever I wanted to do. But you have to be in edit mode for that to happen. Okay, so let's say I added that, that's fine. And over here in my causes of American Revolution, I'm going to go back. I'm going into edit mode. And I want to have this slide and this slide in my World War II. Let's just do one at a time. In my World War II, oops, that's not, wait a minute, okay, let me do two things. I'm right here. Remember that I said you could add your voice to an existing slide. So this was a slide, and when I double clicked on it, down here at the bottom, it says audio. I could change the layout, whatever. But when I click on audio, I get this audio recorder again. And again, now I could just click on my microphone. I could read this to my class. I could add instructions. I could say, be sure and take notes on this information on this slide. It will be on the test, okay? And so adding your voice to slides can be very, very important, all right? Now, when I'm in here, I'm trying to see. Okay. Most times, if I want to copy from one slide to another, I would click there and this copy would come up. And so when I did, it says copyright issues because it has to do with that image and it has to do with all of these images. But let's just take this field trip. Am I still getting, man, I'm getting a lot of copyright. Open-ended question. I should be getting my copy. Let me just. So I'm going to close out of this one. Now, I'm going to do this because I know I don't have any copyright issues here. I'm going to edit and all. So here's a slide. Now notice up here, because this is a slideshow I created, so there's no copyright issues and all. And I, honor copyright. So here's a slide, and you notice up here I can copy it. So I click on it, I click copy. Now I could paste it somewhere else, but I can also go back now, and I've copied that from one creation into, I want to put it in American Revolution. And I want to put it right here. So I just put my cursor right in there, but in between, and this pops up and it says paste. So now I brought this slide in from another Nearpod into here. Okay, so you do the same thing if it was a Google slide out in Google Slideshow or in PowerPoint, you just do a copy and a paste. Okay, so let me save and exit that. Also, remember your new best friend is Nearpod Library. Let's say you do want a time to climb and you're having a hard time finding them. Type in up here in Nearpod Library, time to climb. And then you'll see all of these. Now, if I just come over here and I say high school, and you see that I have eliminated all those middle school and ones, elementary. So here's DNA genetics. And so that would be a gamified quiz, a great way to review. So you can find these by searching that way in Nearpod Library. But let's say I'm in World War II again. I just keep going back to edit. I can edit to my heart's content and all. And let me go through this. That's a poll. Let's explain. I'm trying to see if we have a quiz. Okay. So right here is a quiz. It says so. So if I want to now, I click on my quiz and notice this was not there, but it popped up because it was a quiz and it says convert to time to climb. So I could take this quiz and put it in that game format. So those are just a little extras down the line that you may not jump on right at the beginning. But my suggestion always is when you're getting started is to go to the library, say that you're high school, type in a topic here that you're teaching, and let's see, does anybody want to throw out something they're going to be teaching this week? And we'll see if we can find a lesson.
Rational functions.
What?
Rational functions.
Okay, I got functions. I wasn't sure about the first.
Rational. Put it in the chat.
You check.
Rational functions is what he's saying. Rational functions.
Oh, rational. See, I couldn't get the rational. Okay, functions. Look, here's 2 lessons on rational functions, 11th and 12th grade, 8th and 12th grade. So let's say this is a video, 6 minutes and 52 cents on, this is a lesson. It's for grades 11 and 12. All right, so I'm going to click on preview lesson. I preview it. I go through it. Let's see, it's been a while since I've done these, so but I'm going to say, yeah, this is great. I don't have to start from scratch. I'm going to add it to my library. And now when I go back to my library, there's rational functions. And now I go to edit and I start making it so for my students, if there's any changes I want to make. All right. So let's answer questions. I always like to give some time at the end. The main thing is, one, you're not going to break it, Nearpod. I've never lost a presentation. I use it, as I said, in all subject areas. It has saved me a lot of times when I needed to come up with a lesson and all. One thing before we answer questions that I didn't go into that's very important. Let me go back to my library. Oh, I'm in my library. Okay. Notice over here on the left-hand side, it says reports. I click on reports. So it's fetching my data. Here's the lesson that we did earlier today. And so you can see I have all my lessons in here. And so I click on it. This was the topic. This is why I'm saying that you want to make sure that you launch it for different classes, a new one, so that you have them broken down by students. So here's the class that you are in, and I will see something like this. You'll notice I can share it, I can download it. I see about my participation, my information. So individually, I would see how each student did on all the activities. I could go to quiz. I could look at each question and I could see what they chose for that question. Here's the draw it. And I could, you drew a picture. I have those. Here's my matching pairs, fill in the blanks and such. So it's there's about, as I said, there's about 3 different ways to get to reports, but when you're in your library, it's right there and all. So they can be downloaded, shared, whatever. Okay, now questions. Okay, anybody have a burning question?
I have some questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Oh.
Paul had some questions. Is the only activity that we can embed in videos is a question?
Yeah, you can put videos from YouTube, from the video library, any place in your lesson.
Are there other competitive games besides Time to Climb?
No, that's the only one they've done.
Are there any self-paced games that aren't competitive?
Well, now, if you have one on a website, you can bring in that web URL for them to do. It wouldn't be, well, I don't know that it would be graded for you at all, but you could bring it in as a web URL. But, you know, there's none that are actually what I would call games, you know. But that's why I like the matching pairs and the different ways of doing assessments. Okay, you had more questions in the chat?
Yeah. I already made a video with a question, but is the only option for an in-video activity a question?
Okay. I may have to have some clarification.
Yeah, you might want to read that one. I don't know if I'm reading that one correctly.
Okay, let me go up here if I can get to, well, let me stop my sharing screen. Okay. Woo, lots of questions. All right, let's see. Here is cutting out. I'm in the boonies. It's the only embedded video is a question. Are there other? Okay. The only activity that you can put in right is a question. Or I guess you could make it a statement as well as a question. You can, in the video, I don't think that you can make those questions read out loud. I haven't tried that, but that is a great suggestion. I may put it in my follow-up and all. Okay, I already made a video with a question, but is the only option for a question. No other, like, quit me, okay. Okay, in the videos right now, embedding questions is the only thing that you can add to them. Okay, as I said, we were thrilled when they came up with the videos because that was just in August. Can you put no, I don't think your question is, well, okay. Let me just go back. We got a lot of questions on this. Let me go back and share my screen. We've got a few minutes. I can certainly, this is how I learn. Okay, let me go back to my library. And, well, I'm going to go to the Nearpod library. I think this will be the quickest way. And I'm going to look for a video on weather. Wait a minute. I needed to use my filter and say it was a video. Okay, so here is a video, and this really doesn't matter what grade level and all. So it's 1 minute and 36 seconds. This is the preview of it. Okay, now let's look at this. So I would see this. Here's the transcript. Here are the video questions. So you have handouts. You have a button to click on related videos. Okay, let's go to edit. Yes. Okay, so let's say I want to add an activity right here. So I'm going to click on this. So here's my two choices. It's an open-ended question or a multiple choice question. So that would be your two choices. Now, that's not saying that down the line, they might not add some more activities, but so that was a very good question. And now I know the answer. Okay. So multiple choice and open-ended. Okay, let's see, anything else?
I have a question. I'm not exactly sure how to phrase this, but let's say you've got a lesson and it's got a couple of multiple choice questions and a matching thing. Maybe you have them draw something.
Okay,
let's just say those three things, just to keep it simple. What's the most expedient sort of grading setup, and then how is it going to, or is there any chance that at some point it might communicate to Google Classroom?
Okay.
So the grading can be more streamlined?
Well, the grading is going to be done if it's a quiz, if it's a fill in the blank, you'll see the drawings, and that will be in your reports. Now, that is, so you have all of those in the reports, and the grading's done for you. Now, this, I don't know if you all have if you have Schoology or Google Classroom, whatever, and all. The main thing is
It's
that,
Google Classrooms. And then
okay.
we have to ultimately record it on another system.
Oh, okay. So the main thing, it will be graded for you. It will be in reports. I don't know if that really answers your question of having it more.
I guess I'm saying is like, is there a good breakdown and like, you know, if I decide I don't care about the drawing, I just want to, you know, see what the multiple choice question, that kind of thing was. Is there something that kind of pulls out like a CSV file with a total point that you can then quickly pull into Google or Skyward or whatever?
Well, you can see the reports at any point, and you're also seeing the results in real time when you're doing them with your students and all. And so, so I know okay. So you have Skyward, is that correct? I think. Ooh, that was a funny loud noise. And all. So you would have to go to your reports and just pull them from there. And see, I mean, they could be, you know, certainly saved as a link, I think, into Google Classroom and all. So I don't know if that's really getting to the.
Lisa, we've been using this for a while. Can you think of a better way to rephrase this? Just anything is that we can do to more efficiently streamline the grading when you have various different things that have been put into it? Can you think of another way of saying that?
We're using Nearpod, and so we have 4 activities in one thing. Right now, we have to go get the score for the first one, go get the score for the second one, go get the score for the third one, get the score for the fourth one, and kind of put it all together to kind of create a score. So basically some type of grading option where you preset what you want it to grade and how many points you want to give each thing, so that at the end it gives you a total score for the student for that activity instead of having to piecemeal the pieces together.
Okay, it's just going to grade a quiz, which a quiz is multiple choice or true or false. It's going to grade it right or wrong. You can't weigh it, like, you know, like that. All of that's going to be in your reports in one place.
But the report, you have to look at multiple places. You like, if you put in a matching, you have to see how they did on matching. Maybe they got 8 out of 8. Okay. Then you have to go and look at the next part. How did they do on that? There's no like cumulative total grade for that one assignment that's easier to give. And that's, I think, what Sarah was asking for, was just a cumulative grade for the whole Nearpod, something put together. This is their score.
Let me go back and go back to my Nearpod and go to reports. Now, only thing you have is at the very beginning of the report, right here, this is more like the summary, and you would see right here on this one page, the score on how they did on each of those. So that's not, you can look at it individually, but this is a summary, and I would be able to see my whole class. So I don't know if that's what you really wanted to do, but that is, now you can download this as a CSV if you want to, or as a PDF and all. And then you can also share it, you know, if you need to share with other people. But yes, you might have to look at this, and if you want to.
Could you do that real quick to show everybody what that CSV file looks like so we can figure out how you can manipulate that? Because if you have got a % score for each assignment, then in theory, if it's downloading this exactly like this, you can program Excel to just do a sum at the end or
Okay,
average or something.
I will tell you, I have never tried this, but I'm certainly willing to stick my neck out there. And so here's this CSV. This is the whole session. I'm clicking on it. I want to save it to my Google Drive or to my local drive. Okay, I'm just going to say local drive. It's in a zip file. And let me just.
You should be able to import a CSV file into a spreadsheet file.
Right. Okay, here's this CSV. Y'all are, okay, I don't want to do that, but I'm just closing. So here I've got it in here. This is, so, so it looks like it's in a spreadsheet format and all. Here, up here at the top, I could chart, table, and insert. Okay, so that's what it looks like, and I would think that you could manipulate it. I'm not an expert on that. So, okay, well, we'll have to, wonder if I did.
I think the point Cecil's trying to make is we love all these different activities and things that you can do, but then there comes a point when it has to be, we can't put each of those individual grades into our system. There would be so many grades. So this lesson has to be condensed down to a single grade. And the more efficiently we can do that, because she's got 4 different classes, I'm teaching 2 different, completely different subjects and multiple sections across those, the more efficiently we can set up the auto grading, so we can just pull out one data point and slam it into another grading system. You know, it's looking like basically we'll have to pull it into Excel and then just tell it to ignore everything that doesn't give us a percentage or some kind of thing. But that's basically where we're at with it. So.
Okay. Well, as I said, that, you know, I think I understand what you're trying to do, and I understand the time consideration of pulling from different points and all, but I'm just not sure how seamless it will be, because you're having to put it into Skyward. Is that right? I guess.
Ultimately.
Ultimately, that's
ultimately, but that's its own bit of fun. But it's like, if I can, you know, it's just a matter of just the more efficient pitch. I guess what we're wondering is if there's be like a column they could just put in with some kind of like sum of all the graded things or something like that, you know, some kind of average or something. I've used a lot of homework systems, and you can kind of do things like tell them which assignments you want to count towards your total for your score for your students to see, and that kind of thing.
I can get that. I will tell you, you're maybe still seeing my screen. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner, it has that little round circle. That's a chat button that goes directly to Nearpod. I would put something in there that way. Or whoever, let's see, you have a contact person at Nearpod, a customer resource person, and I'm not sure who that is. You know, I would go back to them, or I'd put it in the chat, because that's just beyond my knowledge on getting it in the format that you need it to be. But so other than that, I think that we've gotten all the questions pretty well answered and such. And, you know, my suggestion is just go ahead and start using it. I think you'll find that your students are very engaged with it. The student pace may be very, very beneficial for you, for those students that are virtual, because it's going to be the same lesson as if you were doing it face-to-face. So I love I love the live participation. I love having input right back from the students at that moment in time.
I did have one other question. I don't know if we've really had a lot of feedback from our bio kids on this, but for the ones that start saying stuff like my laptop's not working or how seamless do you find this running on someone starts doing the whole thing on their cell phone?
No, the cell phone, I mean, it's small. Now, kids do it a lot better. It may look a little different, though, on their cell phone. I find that on a tablet or an iPad, it is very seamless. I mean, it's very easy. I think on their phones that, you know, maybe their eyes are better, but it may look a little bit different than it does if they were on a computer and all. And like I even thought about today, because I knew my internet was going to go down, of using my phone for a hotspot for this session and all. So, yeah, but you know, kids, all schools that are doing virtual are running into issues with students that are virtual. And I just hope that your students are so motivated. Now, with it being student paced, that means that they can go anywhere that has internet and pull it up. So if they can, I don't know about, the public, Austin Community College, they could go there and they could do the lesson there. And I'm sure their internet would be very strong. So I do think there are solutions and all. So, okay, well, I'm going to wind this up and all, and I will be sending all of you additional resources and such. So thank you so much for taking time out to go through this and seeing what you could do with it.
Real quick, you may have said this at the beginning and I missed it. I noticed all of the codes were in capitals. Is it case sensitive?
No, it is not case sensitive. It just and it's always unique to the lesson. Okay. I have to tell them when I'm doing elementary class teachers, I have to tell them, don't do it the night before, print it up and laminate it. High school, I don't have to worry about that. No, it is not case sensitive. So, all right. Well, we're all going to get through this. It's going to get better. And, it's whatever we can do to keep our kids learning and all. So thank you so much. So I'm going to end the meeting.